Alright, this is Fakafon's review of The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker. So Wind Waker came out in the GameCube in 2002, and it's actually pretty interesting because it's kind of like a sequel like Majora's Mask was to Ocarina of Time. Well, I mean, it's in the future, and Hyrule's been drowned, but the important thing is it's in continuity with what happened in Ocarina of Time. In this particular game, Link did not stop Ganon from conquering the world, or Hyrule, or whatever the fuck. So now the whole world's been flooded because I don't know, the saints of Hyrule were like, you know what, fuck that shit, drown everything, fuck it, fucking Noah's Ark this bitch. So now the entire world is covered in an ocean, and the story takes part in little islands instead of being a big field. It's interesting. You start the game on a little island, and what's cool is you're not actually dressed up as Link yet. I mean, you don't have the traditional green outfit. You look like this. Okay, what the fuck is up with the short, stubby legs? Who the fuck would draw someone like that? I mean, you have to be a complete idiot. You know? All joking aside, though, the art of this game did take a very different direction from what was previously announced when they had the trailers. And apparently, I'm not sure. I heard the rumors. People were very upset by this. They were not happy that the art style had changed so dramatically. But anyway, artistry aside, you start the game on an island, and basically, it's soon going to be the celebration of the hero of time, which you dress up as because your grandma's like, take this, and you're like, I don't want to do this, but you do it anyway because you're a good kid. God damn it. But then a girl gets flung into the forest and you realize it's a pirate. But then your sister gets kidnapped, so the pirates help you get her back. But then you realize it's Ganon. And then boom. At that precise moment, the real Zelda starts. It's actually pretty interesting the way it works. You do the dungeons as usual. You go from island to island. You fix everyone's problem because you're the hero. But then you need the Master Sword, right? And where is it? It's under the sea. You go to the castle under the sea, it's frozen in time, it looks awesome, and then you get the sword and get the fuck out. But then you realize the sword is not enough to kill Ganon because it's not awakened, so then you gotta do some more dungeons, and then you fucking like the guy's like, hey, I can play the violin, and I can do the harp, and it's like, oh, that's amazing. Meanwhile, the pirate chick you met at the beginning of the game is actually Zelda because, she's a leader type. And, being the leader of a pirate ship makes sense to be a princess as well. Because, money and taxes, I don't know. So now, after fucking about the world, you go back to Ganon, and finally, you're ready to fight with your awakened sword. Now, what's wicked cool about this game, I sound old, is that Ganon has an actual interesting backstory and motivation. Previous incarnations of Ganon, he would basically just be a big tough guy who was evil, or he'd be like this king of thieves. Whoa! That's not the pick I wanted to use, sorry. So yeah, basically he was just a bad guy. But in this game, it's a little bit different. It was about his people and the place where he lived. He didn't have the big grassy plains of Hyrule, the serene and calm wind that they had. No, they had the desert and some shitty death wind. So of course, he went to kill everyone in Hyrule. One thing I like about the game is the way you use your items. It's basically almost the same array as you had in previous Zelda games, but like for example, one of the things they improve is when you use your boomerang, you don't just aim at a target, throw it and hope. It actually like seeks multiple targets at once, which is pretty cool. So in one swings, you can hit multiple targets. I wish I had that boomerang when you fight Jabu Jabu's belly's monster, whatever the fuck. That boss sucked and that fucking dungeon sucked. Oh, you know what? Actually, one of the things I also like about this game is the dungeons. I think the dungeons in this game are better than dungeons you saw in like either Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask. Well, especially Ocarina of Time. The dungeons are just like, there's a better layout. It feels more... I know, it just feels better doing a dungeon than it did in previous games, so that's a plus. And that's my phone. Combat is fun, is active. You can do a variety of moves as you could in previous games. You can use your items. There's like some reactive time events you can do when an enemy's about to strike and you press a button, like bam, you do it first. And I gotta say, the visual effects in this game look amazing. This game is really pretty, and it's even better in the HD remake. And the sound and music are like they're really a notch above, man. You play this game, it sounds great, it feels great, the music is really good. It's really something. So then what's the big elephant in the room, huh? What's the one thing I haven't talked about that's featured pretty much everywhere in the fucking game, literally and figuratively? I hate the ocean. It is by far the most boring and tedious part of this fucking game. It's not as bad as, say, like the train to the Spirit Tracks, but man! The vastness of the ocean is really something to behold, which is why it really sucks to navigate it, because it's huge! Yeah, I should have mentioned, when you go from island to island, well, of course the way you travel is by boat. Boat, which by the way is the king of Hyrule, spoilers.
Not cool, bro.
But that's beside the point. I don't hate the character of the boat, and I don't hate the boat itself. I just hate the fact that you have to navigate over the ocean everywhere, find those fucking maps that are underwater, having to go see Tingle Fingle and say like, ah, Kalalumpa, bitch! But that's a problem, right? Because the whole world is based on the ocean. This is what the theme of the game is, the winds and the ocean. So getting rid of the water would be like incredibly stupid, but I don't like it. It's kind of a predicament. Now, there are ways around that. Like, for example, in the HD version, you can buy a sail that makes you go twice as fast, or eventually you learn one of the songs, it just allows you to teleport around the world. But until then, it's just a big, vast ocean of blue. So in the end, you finally defeat Ganon, you jump in the air, and you plunge your sword into his face, he turns into stone, which makes it some kind of reverse Excalibur, and peace is back again. It's cool because this seems like a much more definitive ending for the game than in the previous games. I mean, the Sword of Power is embedded inside Ganon. What kind of idiot would remove it now, you know? Evil is literally sealed. So yeah, that's Wind Waker in a nutshell. Do I recommend the game? Fuck yeah, this game is really fun to play. The item variety is nice, the combat is cool. I like the enemies in the game a lot. I like the bosses, I like the dungeons. The only thing I don't like is the ocean, but if you don't care about sailing, then fuck, go ahead. The only complaint I have about this game is the ocean. Well, I guess the last thing I'll say about the game, there was a little theory about the new creatures that appear in the game. You know, the Koroks and Doritos. And Doritos. And one of the things it says is that the Doritos are probably an evolution of what the Zoras were, because, you know, as the water rise, they were like, oh fuck, we need to fly, because there's more water.